Shell. Appreciate it. Good to be here with everyone. I like to keep it up with the financial community and the technology community. I've been a tech entrepreneur for 20 years. Before I get into Zyston, I want to start with some history and some background, really, myself and the formation of Zyston, because it's important to the strategy and where we started out with. But as Shell mentioned, my former job was I was running a counterfeiting solutions company called Authentics. It was also a Carlisle portfolio company. Very successful internationally. I went to 25 countries in 5 years. And after my 3-year stint with Carlisle was up, I checked out exhausted, decided I was going to go start a company myself this time, not going to work for those mean private equity guys. And so, anyway, I took some time off. I said, you know what, I'm going to do a search fund. That was in vogue a couple of years ago. I realized I was the oldest man on the planet to actually try to do a search fund, but I did a kind of a bastardized version of a search fund. I went to some wealthy, high net worth individuals that I knew in town, that knew me, and I said, okay, mutual business respect, and my investment thesis was to drive a truck through. Actually, before I went to the investors, I went and pitched my wife on this idea, and I said, I'm going to go raise some money, and we're going to look around, try to find a business. And she said, okay, let me get this right. We're going to go raise a bunch of money from rich people we know here in town to buy a business or start a business, and you don't even know the industry? And I said, yeah, you were listening. She goes, that's not a job. Well, it was a job, and we took it very serious. I moved in. Mike McGill, right here in this building, allowed me some office space. I hired an investment banking associate to help me with the heavy lifting, and probably one of the greatest assets of that particular real estate environment was my next door neighbor was Jeff Heller, one of the early colleagues of Ross Perot at EDS, and ultimately became the president of EDS. So we set off looking for industries and came into information security very rapidly. I don't know who the Equifax of the day was at the time, but somebody ended up on the right column of the Wall Street Journal, and that piqued my interest and got me digging into information security. And personally, even though Authentics was anti-counterfeiting security, it was security nonetheless. And I did learn the value proposition of security and how to pitch that to a corporate audience. So that's one of the reasons that information security resonated with me. The other is the industry stats. I mean, this is a massive ocean. This is a $130 billion, $140 billion ocean going to 240 in 5 years. The consulting segment alone is going to 26 billion, growing at a double-digit rate. So this was, really attractive to me. The other components that I liked from an investment thesis perspective, this has a 10-year tailwind, regardless of the economic environment. Someone on the panel mentioned what's going to be going on in 10 years, and they said security, and I agree. There's an arms race. Every time the good guys come up with a security tool, the bad guys figure out how to break it. And I don't see a change in that cycle anytime soon. The third is my emerging tech ventures before have all been built partly on acquisition strategies. So seeing the fragmentation in this industry across geographies, across segments in the verticals, I saw an opportunity for acquisition ultimately, although we put the brakes on that just because of the organic growth that we're seeing in the market. So anyway, I went out and started to do some homework in the information security market after seeing this stat, and said, okay, looking for an investment thesis, looking for a strategy model to get into the space, because I was new to the space. So I did what I call my 50 C guy stint. I went and talked to 50 different C-level executives, CEOs, COs, CFOs, whoever would let me buy them a beer, and I asked them the question, what's your pain point? What keeps you up at night, with respect to information security? Well, I got two answers. I got one consistently, and I got the other 100% of the time. So the one that I heard consistently was, we've got this new part of our organization, the Information Security Group, which 50% of the U.S. corporations have carved out information security and now have it as a standalone group, with the new office of the CISO reporting into the C-suite. While 50% of the big companies in America still have security embedded into the technology group. But the CEOs or the CIOs, whoever, saying, I got this new CISO, he or she is very competent, they're very good technically, but they have no strategic management capabilities. They can't produce a budget. They can't hire. They can't lead people. God forbid, putting together some sort of 3-year plan. So that was a learning lesson. I said, okay, there's a strategy and a consulting opportunity on the front. The second story that I heard, topic that I heard, 100% of the time was lack of talent. We all know there's a shortage of talent in information security, in information technology. There's an acute lack of talent in information security. And it's exacerbated by this fact. if you have a Java programmer in the world of technology, every staffing company knows what he looks like, knows what his resume looks like, they know where he went to college, they know everything. If you saw a resume from a CISO of one company, a VP of security from another, and a senior security architect from a third, you don't know the difference between those resumes. The industry's too dynamic, the corporate structure is not settled yet, and the typical staffing firm does not have the talent in-house to figure that out. So even if you outsource it to a staffing firm, you're not getting it done. So I go back to my office, I tell this to Jeff Eller, came out of the meeting with an idea, we're going to have a portfolio of services where in effect you can outsource the information security for corporations, provide all those services to help them address these pain points. One was advisory services and consulting, the other was human capital delivery. The problem that I had was, in order to pull this off, I don't have an information security background, I needed leadership. So this is a whole other story, I wish I had another 14 minutes, because I went on another search around the country looking for CIOs or CISOs that could lead this effort for me and really be the architects and the leaders of the services. I found a guy named Jonathan Steenland, who's a former CISO for Fujitsu, which is really not a corporation, it's a confederation of 500 different companies, and he provided the security backbone and platform for all of those companies. The second guy named Richard DeRoe, he was the former CISO of another global 250 company called Textron. He left Textron and then served 4 years as the managing partner at PwC as the incident response, the National Incident Response Managing Director. Great story how I got them to finally leave those big jobs and come to this startup, but we don't have time. But that was the leadership, and they became the real architect and the designers of these solutions built around the successful experiences they had as CISOs inside of big, large global organizations. Oops, you're right, excuse me. Quick. So, as I said, Zyston today, we are a information security solutions company. We have a portfolio, comprehensive portfolio, end-to-end range of services that allows us to provide value to our clients anywhere in the life cycle they are with respect to an information security program. So when we started this business, I thought that would be where the companies that would need that would be in the $100 million to $1 billion range. It's not. Our clients now, today, of which we have 45, are $1 billion to $7 billion. It's amazed me how weak or non-existent information security programs are at companies in the multi-billion-dollar revenue range. So what we've done is we've put together this end-to-end suite of services, but they really come in 3 segments. And we've done this, I want to show it to you this way because we'd love for them to buy them all, but I don't like to sell that way. I like to sell quickly. I want a relationship, I want $1 out of you the day I can get it, and then I'll get 10 out of you the next month if I do a good job. So all these services are sold independently and discreetly. We'd love for you to buy them all, but we break them down into these 3 segments. One is advisory services. This is really for companies that don't have a security program, have a weak security program, or they just don't really know what they have. So we come in, this is like your annual physical. We come in and do diagnostics, threat assessments, penetration testing, etc. The middle bucket is, again, this is that human capital delivery, and this is a great entry point into getting that commercial relationship. Show up at a client, I don't need a program right now, I don't need an advisor, but gosh, I could use a firewall expert. Gosh, I could use a PCI professional. Well, we'll go do that for those people. They can be my employee, and I just consult them out for 6 months to a year. We'll do it on a perm basis. The client gets what he wants. The third piece, the third segment of our services, which we launched in March of this year, is our managed security services capability. We are now an MSSP. We have a 24/7 SOC, and this sort of rounds out the range of that total beginning to end range of services that we have. When we launched our managed security services business, we looked at the marketplace and the big competitors out there, and we really brought in our human capital delivery capabilities to upgrade and innovate around what the MSSPs out there were doing at the time. I can't get into it because I've got this time limit, but that's just, that really is what's allowed us to really get into this market and get into it quickly, having just launched our first client, which is Norwegian Cruise Lines, in March of this year. So if you take all of those services together, advisory, human capital, and managed security services, this is Zyston's flagship product offering. We call it IPaaS. This is Information Security Program Management as a Service. There is no other competitor out there in the market that does this. This is the comprehensive end-to-end range of information security services. If you look at our first IPAS client, I use for example, and I can use the name Norwegian Cruise Lines. The CISO at Norwegian Cruise Lines is a Zyston employee. 2 of their most important professionals in the information security group are Zyston employees. We manage the security tools. Every single security tool on their network we manage. That information flows back to our consulting office, which we call the ranch. It flows back to the ranch, and a report is written in business speak and sent to the CIO every month. Every quarter, a more extensive report is done, which goes to the board of directors. Richard, our CISO, excuse me, the Norwegian CISO that works with Zyston, takes it in and reports to the board. That's different. Dell SecureWorks, ReliaQuest, or Optiv do not offer that kind of service. This is the future of Zyston. This is where we're going. The other things that we do, threat assessments, human capital delivery, those are profitable and they're valuable to the client. But to me, they're a funnel driving them to our proprietary methodology and IPAS program. So from a competitive perspective, our competitive advantage is really twofold. It should be innovation and price. I never want price to be first. But we are innovating. We have taken to market a proprietary methodology for information security program management designed by 2 global 250 CISOs where it worked and it was effective. This is information security program management in a gift box. And I cannot tell you how quickly, and this is resonating with multi-billion-dollar clients, because it's not difficult to implement, it's cost-effective. Even the CFO gets excited because we can do it cheaper than he or she can do by themselves, and we're cheaper than our large competitors. And that's what allows us. That's what has allowed us to get into this market as quickly as we have. And in our short 18 months of existence, we've already competed against the Big Four and all those other MSSPs that I just referenced a minute ago, and have really been effective, really been successful at competing against them because this service design, this innovation around these service offerings that we're bringing to market is really different. You know, I already talked about this with respect to going to market. My whole business philosophy as a CEO, a CFO, or whatever, is have a commercial relationship as quickly as possible. You know, business, you're not really in business until you get $1 out of a client. And so as we went to market, we organized our service offerings where we took the ones that were transactional and easier to sell and addressed an immediate pain point, and that's where we wanted to start. So our first revenue in our first month of existence was something simple like finding a security engineer for Rent-A-Center. And so then we hopefully moved up the food chain into the services that we're bringing them, consulting, advisory, managed services. As we start to earn their respect and earn their trust, we introduce them to IPAS and our program management methodology. I mentioned, I'm sorry, I'm going backwards. I mentioned Norwegian. We have a great relationship. This is the best example I can give you of a trusted client, trusted partner that has shared both ways. Norwegian, as you know, they're a big customer. They were our first IPAS client. They had enough respect and trust in our people to allow us that opportunity. It's been very effective for them. They even allowed us to do a joint press release when we rolled out their IPAS program and our IPAS program, which has been great. We've been a great, very supportive partner of Zyston, and really proud to work with those guys. From a revenue and financing perspective, real quickly, we did about $1 million in revenue in 2016, our first year. It's a 7-month stub period. We're on about a $10 million run rate as we close out 2017. I'm hoping we can post up a $20 million budget for 2018. From an investment history, in May when we launched, we raised $3 million, mostly from the wealthy individuals that backed the search fund. We raised another $2 million. It's kind of an extension of that round at a slight uptick in price, just typical convertible preferred, very vanilla. We did that to support IPAS, and it was a requirement in the NCL contract. We are in the market right now, fairly far down the path. Our first institutional round to raise $4 to $6 million, hopefully the higher end of that range. Really 2 purposes. One is to support the expansion of IPAS and get us into some other markets. And number 2 is around some software initiatives I didn't have time to get into, but invite me back next year and I'll give you an update. And these are the inmates that run the asylum. And that's it. Hopefully I left at least 2 minutes. Oh, man, that was 11 minutes and 34 seconds.